of brands from around the world and thousands of products in their daily use household range.
मैं अभी जाना चाहती हूँ, वो कब तक खुलते हैं?
Monday to Saturday 8:30 to 8 p.m. and 11 to 5 p.m. on Sunday. और ये बहुत ही साफ और महफूज है और कोविड गाइडलाइंस को फॉलो किया जाता है. तो फिर चलें, शाजिया.
Park Foods. Come and see the difference.
अब खुल गया है देसी रेस्टोरेंट, तो क्यों ना आज ही अपने घर वालों के लिए खाना ऑर्डर करें. हमारे पास फिश पकोड़ा, चिकन पकोड़ा, चरगा स्टीम चिकन, लेम और वेजिटेबल समोसा, बिरयानी, पिज्जा, फलूदा, जलेबी, गुलाब जामुन, समोसा चाट, फ्रेश चिकन और लेम हांडी, लाहौरी चना और बहुत कुछ. ये सब अब आपको मिले सिर्फ और सिर्फ देसी रेस्टोरेंट में. आज की स्पेशल ऑफर, निहारी और पाए एक नान और रोटी के साथ सिर्फ 6 पाउंड में. स्पेशल लंच टाइम ऑफर दिन 12 से 4 बजे तक. चिकन और लेम कड़ी 2 रोटी के साथ सिर्फ 6 पाउंड में. मिक्स वेजिटेबल कड़ी और तड़का दाल 2 रोटी के साथ 5 पाउंड में. तो ऑर्डर करें अभी देसी रेस्टोरेंट online.com पर और ऑनलाइन पेमेंट करें बिल्कुल सेफली. और कॉल कर सकते हैं 01733555795. हमारे पास डिलीवरी भी मौजूद है और 10% डिस्काउंट के साथ आप खुद कलेक्ट भी कर सकते हैं. 298 Lincoln Road, Peterborough, PE1 2ND.
If you want to learn about Islam and Muslims, stay tuned to Salam Radio 106.2 FM.
Hello, welcome to the Winning Women Show on Salam Radio 106.2 FM on this Sunday. How are you this afternoon? I am your host Iram Shah with you for the next 1 hour. I'm so excited to bring to you inspiring women in business on this show to teach you how to turn your passion into a business, how to level up your existing businesses and increase your financial abundance through leading experts' advice. So tell me, tune in. If you're tuning in just now, tell me where you're listening from. If you're listening on your car radio on 01, you can call in on 01733 602 133. If you're listening live on the Facebook or the YouTube YouTube video on the live stream, you can comment below, say hello, tell us where you're listening from, and tell us what you're doing this Sunday afternoon. I am on a journey myself to financial abundance with businesses in property investments. You can follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn, and also, so by listening to this show, you'll be inspired by real life success stories and how ordinary people have created an extraordinary life. So get involved by commenting on your live streams, and let's begin. So I'm excited to showcase you my guest today, Caroline Ribeiro Nelson. Hello.
Hi, hello. It's lovely to be here.
Hello, Caroline. How are you this afternoon?
I'm very good, thank you.
Fabulous, Caroline. Well, for our listeners, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about yourself so our listeners get to know you?
Yes, I'm Caroline Ribeiro Nelson. I trained as an existential psychotherapist many years ago. It was over 25 years ago, because my passion really lies in mental health and well-being and supporting people throughout their life experience, recognise what the importance is of their mental health and to invest in that, not only in their personal life but in their professional life as well. So it's really important that we look at that within the workplace as well. And over the years, I recognised how important it was to look at our identities and our diverse backgrounds and how that very much impacts our mental health and well-being. So I developed my business around diverse mental health and well-being, which looks at the diverse backgrounds of people in terms of being a female, being black or brown or person of colour, having a disability, being from a different ethnic background or religious background. Those different backgrounds that impact us as individuals and how that connects to our mental health and well-being. So that's the field that I work in.
Fabulous. And Caroline, what's the aim of your business?
So it's very much to help people understand that important connection between diversity, equity and inclusion factors, which relates to basically people's lived experience. When we see within society racism, sexism, discrimination, inequity, and injustice, and all of those isms, that those aren't things that are separate from a person's identity and how we function personally and professionally in the workplace. So it's really important for people to understand what that connection is and how it impacts people's lived experience, how that transfers into the workplace, because in the workplace, these dynamics are still going on. We don't leave our identities at home and our lived experiences and go into the workplace, and then the workplace is some vacuum that is completely different to our life experience. The workplace often perpetuates the society that we're living. So there are those barriers, inequities, discrimination, prejudices, stereotypes still going on within the workplace, which will impact us as individuals, and it will affect the way we feel in the workplace, our sense of belonging, our sense of inclusion, our ability to contribute and to grow and develop in the workplace. So my focus is really on helping people understand what that is about, how it impacts people, to actually be open about that, to be honest, to tackle those really difficult questions, and to look at how their work culture is actually perpetrating those difficulties and barriers, and how they can transform that in a way that's going to be inclusive, it's going to be safe, and it's going to be supportive of a diverse workplace.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm all about.
Thank you, Caroline. And it's interesting you say that, because actually we do spend so much time in our workplaces, especially as the dynamics have changed so much. So many people are working from home. So it's very much a part of our life, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the pandemic has really brought to the fore the impact of the pandemic on our mental health and well-being, and how important it is for us to really invest in that, in terms of looking at the implications, that sense of uncertainty, looking at, in fact, a traumatic event that has, given us a lot of stress, anxiety, and fears in terms of our future. Not only for our business, but our health and our family, and that lack of connection that is so important to us as humans, to have that limited and to have rules imposed on us where we don't have those freedoms that we just take for granted. And all of that has impacted our mental health. And that's why we're seeing the increase in mental health problems within our population, and those people who are already having poor mental health and mental illness, those situations have been exasperated, and people have been looking to not only to the mental health services, which have been under a lot of pressure to deal with that, but they've been looking to their workplace. They've been looking to their leadership and to their managers and to their colleagues to support them through this process. And some people actually have found it really, really helpful. People have come together, and they've just been overwhelmed by the support. But unfortunately, a lot of people have been very, very disappointed in the lack of support and understanding and awareness. And that's why we see now a lot of people thinking about leaving their jobs.
Yes. And why do you think there has been a lack of support? Do you think it's due to a lack of misunderstanding? Or lack of understanding of the situation, or the fact that it's not being, people don't want to acknowledge almost, because of the consequences that mental health can cause sometimes in workplaces. People don't understand it; they don't know how to address it. What do you think? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a lot of different things, to be honest, and importantly, I think people have been caught off guard. I think no way did people expect the pandemic to hit us in the way that it has, and to be so disruptive, and to really challenge us to look at the ways that we communicate and have contact with each other, but how we do business. And so I think people were just kind of in shock, to be honest, and it took them a while to kind of regain their footing and to look at, so how do we deal with this? How do we keep our businesses afloat? How do we support people? And a lot of people didn't have that training or the resources in place because they've never had to deal with a situation like this before. And so they were unprepared, and I think that made it difficult for people to respond. But also, I think it is that sense of mental health has never really been at the top of businesses' agendas, although before the pandemic, people were becoming more aware. They were looking at how important it was, not just for your physical health, but mental health in the workplace. But there weren't really giant strides or transformation within the workplaces to support people with their mental health and well-being. And so I think people were lost. A lot of people were lost at what to do. They didn't have the knowledge, they didn't have the training, they didn't have the network, they didn't have the structures in place or partnerships with mental health professionals or organizations. And they really looked to their employee assistance programs. So employee assistance programs are often supported by the employer, and it's a 24-hour helpline that offers guidance and support. But I think that really wasn't enough to deal with the huge impact of the pandemic. So I think it was a combination of all of those things.
Yes. And Karen, what would you say in terms of, because what preventive measures could we put in place as individuals now that, you know, we're facing possibly another lockdown as the threat of COVID cases increase? What preventive measures would you provide us with? Tips?
Yeah. I think we have to look at what are the lessons learned so far in the last 2 years. And one of the important lessons is about flexibility, allowing people to be flexible in how they do their work and when they do their work, especially working mothers, because we've seen that dual role has had a huge impact and been very stressful. And I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. So not only to have that flexibility and understanding, but to provide support, regular support for people who may need guidance and they may need that additional emotional as well as practical input, and to look at the ways that managers can keep in touch with people on a regular basis and to make adjustments as needed, because that regular contact with people, just checking in to see how they're doing, asking what they need, making adjustments as we go along, and listening to people and what they say is really important. And to have that trust, because I think before the pandemic, there was a lack of trust for organisations allowing people to work from home. They didn't think that it could work. So putting trust in people and also allowing people to access support resources in a way that is convenient for them as well. But also providing support resources, because there are a lot of resources out there that can help people, and to put those in place and make them easily accessible so that people know that if they need to have some guidance or support, it is there and it is available. And to keep an open door as well, to say, you know, we're here. If you need to talk to anyone, if you need to make adjustments, if you need resources, if you have any ideas as well, to be open to people's ideas about how they feel they want to deal with the situation, and they want to make suggestions in the development of the organisation in helping deal with the situation, to listen to people and to take that on board. So I think there are quite a few things that can be done.
And Caroline, as your business is actually one of those resources that go into business, just tell us a little bit more about those services that you offer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I do a range of different services in terms of mental health and well-being. So I offer consultation with my team of professionals, talking to organisations about their mental health and well-being strategies and their support network. So there are organisations that are on different pathways in offering support. So you'll see organisations that perhaps have an EAP, mental health first aiders and mental health champions and advocates. They may have initiated online exercise courses or yoga. And I look at how that effectively is working, because looking at individual strategies is not a really long-term effective way of addressing people's mental health needs. So I look at how they can look at a more comprehensive way of using the resources they have in a way that's going to be more effective in getting in touch with their workforce and having engagement in developing that in line with what people need, but also looking at their culture as well, because the culture is really important in terms of the messages and psychological safety that can be developed within the organisation. So the psychological safety is really about how do you create an atmosphere where people trust that they can talk about and share their experience and their needs, and feel they're not going to be judged, they're not going to be penalised, but they're actually going to have support in place that's going to meet their needs. So it's about helping organisations connect to their particular employees to look at what those needs are and to put those in place. So I will give advice on developing more comprehensive mental health and wellbeing strategies within the organisations that tap into the other resources that they have, particularly in relation to diversity, equity and inclusion. So I offer online trainings, coaching, and also mediating services when there are conflicts to be met, and also resources, practical resources that can be given out to their particular employees that help them understand and work and address their mental health needs, as well as understanding the connection between diversity, equity and inclusion. So I offer a range of different services and opportunities that really need to fit in with where the particular organisation is and what they're looking to do. So there's a range of different things.
Fabulous. Thank you, Caroline. I'm just going to remind the viewers that are listening in. So if you're listening on the car radio, on your car radio, you can call in on 01733 602 133, or you can text us on 07411 191062. Say hi and get involved by telling us what you're doing this afternoon. And if you have any questions for Caroline in regards to mental health, especially if you're from a diverse background yourself, if you've experienced anything yourself, it'd be great to get your comments in. If you're listening live on the Facebook or the YouTube stream, you can comment below there as well. We're in conversation with Caroline, an expert in her field in mental health. We've already gone over exactly what Caroline does, how she helps businesses. Caroline, one of the things, what barriers did you face in the workplace that motivated you to come into this field of work?
Yeah, I think I've always had an interest in psychology. I've just really been fascinated with understanding what makes us tick as human beings, and what are the things in life that make us unwell, and what are the things that help support us function in a really good way. So I studied psychology as an A-level, so when I was very young, and then, having studied psychology at university training as a psychotherapist and coach, I went into working in the field of mental health and wellbeing within different organisations. And I think it was really a rude awakening for me, because I think I was extremely naive, thinking that I'd had all of this kind of training and background, and I was really motivated to go in to organisations and show what I was able to do in terms of supporting people and developing within the organisation. And I was just really struck by the fact that by being a black woman within the organisation, and often the only black female, throughout my training and within professional associations and workplaces, that I really stood out. It was obvious that I was different due to the colour of my skin, and so it was a matter of living it up to people's expectations, as well as my own expectations of what I felt I needed to achieve within the workplace. And that can put a lot of pressure on oneself. And also just being very aware of the stereotypes around black women within the workplace. That, the stereotypes that black women are loud, or that they are aggressive or pushy or dominant. And this is something that whenever I would speak out or I would challenge something, it would be, you're speaking out of turn. You're not, it's not your place to object or to try to get more attention. You should speak when you're spoken to. You can have attention when it's given to you. And this was something that kind of really made me think about the fact that those barriers, then, no matter how experienced and trained and knowledgeable you are, that those barriers can really wear you down. They can really make you wonder, how much does it take in order for you to be recognised for who you are, and for you to be able to progress within an organisation. And so, there were times when it was very tokenistic, where I would be, very on in my career, I was asked to take part in company brochures. Of course, I was the only black person. It was the start of my career. But then, and I was quite proud. Oh, this is great. I can represent the organisation. But then I realised what it was all about, and also being asked only to do interviews when it was related to race, and never any time else. And just facing things like being undermined by people who felt that you didn't belong, and just picking at your mistakes. And so those kind of experiences for me really taught me that my strength has to come from within. That I think I was quite fortunate that I'm a very self-sufficient, independent. I was very confident in my abilities and what I could do.
Good.
And so I didn't need external recognition or praise or validation. I had that within myself, and I think I was quite fortunate that I had that throughout my education and my early experience, because it really helped me to get through. But I think that it's still the case now that black women within the workplace are facing these very barriers about the way that women are perceived and what they're capable of and what they're not capable of.
Yeah, and if they're not addressed, and like you said, you were confident enough in yourself, but if they're not addressed, then what would happen is, as a person, you might minimalize yourself a little bit, isn't it? Because you might want to conform. If you don't feel strong enough, you're worried about using the race card. So these are all real issues. You might even deny that experience. This is something we've spoken about offline as well. So do you find that that's how people tend to deal with these experiences?
Yeah, very much so. I think you have a lot of black women who feel that, and it's not just black women, but people from a diverse background, that they feel that they need to change to fit in, that they need to conform or to code switch. And that code switching process of, you cannot be your authentic self. You feel that you have to talk and dress and behave in a certain way, the culture that you're in order to be accepted and to be taken seriously. And that can cause a lot of stress and anxiety. And I think that black women are, giving the message that, you need to not to project your ambition, your authority, your potential in a way. Not to be forward with that, because it's perceived in a negative way. So you put your head down and work really hard, twice or three times as hard, hoping that the recognition will be there. But I think that times are changing, and black women are not willing to fulfill those kind of expectations anymore.
And people want to embrace their identity, their culture, their colour, and all the good things that come with it. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that women are coming into their own now with the fact that they are saying that they do not want to work in environments that do not respect them, that do not value them, and do not reward them and pay them an equal pay. So you have not only the gender pay gap, but you have the racial pay gap as well. And so black women are now really saying that we want to be recognised for who we are, what we're capable of, and what we've achieved. And if that isn't the case, we will actually support each other. We'll do it for ourselves. We'll develop our own businesses and organisations, or we'll leave and we'll go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
I'm really setting very clear boundaries and expectations of organisations. Yeah.
And your motto in support, is supporting diversity, equality, and inclusion in mental health. What exactly do you mean by this?
Yeah, when I say that good mental health needs good DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that really relates to the connection that exists between the factors related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is racism, sexism, homophobia, Islamophobia, all of those isms, and to do with ableism and also different discrimination, abuse, and violence and inequity within our society that have often been seen as quite separate as challenges within our society, but not connected to our mental health. But it's clear, and evidence has shown that these factors do impact mental health. And so you see that women and people of colour and people from diverse backgrounds, people from the LGBT community and people with learning disabilities have higher rates of mental health and poorer mental health than their white counterparts. So we're seeing the direct connection there, and it's really important to understand the factors that make that the case. Mm-hmm. And I think that people find that it's quite a complex issue because there are so many different things going on, because you have the stigma related to mental health and you have the inequalities within the health system and the discrimination and racism within the health system. But then you also have the impact of those factors on mental health.
Caroline, we're just going to go on to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some more. So take a coffee break and join us straight back.
Great, thank you.
See you there.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
हाँ बिलाल, मैं हमारी ग्रोसरी और हलाल मीट के लिए मुख्तलिफ स्टोर्स पर जाते जाते थक चुकी हूँ। पार्किंग हमेशा से एक मसला रहा है और मुझे आखिरी बार एक पार्किंग टिकट भी मिला है।
कितनी दफा बता चुका हूँ, 232 लिंकन रोड पीटरबरो पर पार्क फूड्स को ट्राई करो। ये कैम्ब्रिजशायर की सबसे बड़ी एथनिक सुपरमार्केट है और उनके पास 1 घंटे के लिए फ्री कस्टमर कार पार्क है।
वाओ, रियली? लेकिन क्या मैं वहाँ से सब कुछ खरीद सकती हूँ?
यस, fresh quality fruit, vegetables, dairy product, halal meat and poultry delivered every day. It really is a one-stop shop. Plus, Park Foods carry a huge range of brands from around the world and thousands of products in their daily use household range.
मैं अभी जाना चाहती हूँ। वो कब तक खुलते हैं?
Monday to Saturday 8:30 to 8 p.m. and 11 to 5 p.m. on Sunday. और ये बहुत ही साफ और महफूज है और कोविड गाइडलाइंस को फॉलो किया जाता है। तो फिर चलें, शाजिया।
Park Foods. Come and see the difference.
Peterborough. Who said good quality fried and grilled chicken has to be expensive? At Sam's, we take pride in every piece of chicken that leaves our kitchen. Just one bite of our chicken or burgers is all it takes to realise we are the best. Visit us at our brand new place at 333 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PF. Or order a delivery through Just Eat, Uber or Deliveroo. Sam's, the home of great tasting chicken for over 30 years.
It's estimated that 5,760 children become orphaned every day, and the numbers are rising. UKIM ensures that the orphans we sponsor receive healthcare, food, education and shelter to show them that there are people who care. This Ramadan, from just £30 per month, you can make a real change in an orphan's life. Your sponsorship will provide them with much needed essentials to ease their situation. For orphan sponsorship, call now or visit ukim.org.
दोस्ता की परेशान है
यार कर है ना सारा सौदा मुक्या वा मुल्का विच पैसे भेजने
हूं नहीं मार फूड वाले की फोन खड़का ते फ्री लोकल डिलीवरी कार मंगवा
अला ता उथे कै स्पेशल आ
उना की लबाई हाइजीन च ग्रेड 5 चीजें चंगियां मियारी ते सस्तियां ते नाले ऑफरां ही ऑफरां
और क्या
ताजा गोश्त ताजी सब्जियां ते फ्रूट आटा चावल दालां मसाले ते जूस सारे बिल जमा करने गैस ते इलेक्ट्रिक नो टॉप अप भी करने पाकिस्तान पैसे बिल्कुल फ्री भेजने मतलब के ही चिड़ी ने दूध छड़ी ते हर शै लबनी
जने ने आप उतरा
Amar Food Store and Halal Meat, 613B Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Telephone 01733 687374.
Winter's on its way, which is when dangerous viruses like flu can spread really quickly. Flu can affect us all, but it's often young children who spread it to more vulnerable people, like the grandparents. Flu can also cause complications during pregnancy and even harm you and your baby. So if you're pregnant, please make sure you've had your free flu vaccine. And if you've got children who are aged 2 or 3 before September, they need it too. Check with your GP or maternity service to book an appointment for your family today.
With you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
Welcome back to the Winning Women Show. We're on the last half an hour here on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. I am your host, Iram Shah. I'm so excited to bring to you another inspiring show with of an inspiring woman in business. Here we teach you how to turn your passion into business, level up your existing business, and increase your financial abundance through leading experts' advice. So if you're listening for the first time, either through the Facebook or the YouTube live stream, you can comment below and say hello. Tell me where you're listening from. Tell me what you're doing this afternoon. If you're listening on your car radio, you can call in on 01733 602 133, or you can text us on 074 11191062. It'll be great to hear you, or just for you to say hi, tell us what you're doing, and if you've got any questions. Today's leading expert is Caroline Ribeiro Nelson, a leading expert in mental health, especially people from a diverse background. So let's welcome Caroline again. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Caroline. Hello. Yeah, thank you so much. So, Caroline, before the break, we were talking about how you see diversity and equality and inclusion in mental health as interwoven themes, as opposed to sort of separate entities, as often seen in mental health. What specific challenges do you think women face in mental health?
Yeah, I think particularly for women, they are subjected to, I think, historical factors to do with sexism and discrimination within society and within the workplace. But there are also the socioeconomic differences as well, with lower pay and access to work and opportunities and progression that play a big part on women's mental health. But also women take on, we mentioned earlier, that dual role of carer, and often not just of the children within the family, but other dependents within their particular family network. And we cannot really forget about the hormonal issues that women face as well, to do with menopause, because menopause can really impact women's mental health and physical health quite drastically. So taking all of those into account, we really need to recognize that women are in that position where they are dealing with a number of different challenges. And in order to support women, it's important to recognize what those are and to develop strategies and support networks and opportunities for women that make it possible for them to not only deal with their mental health and physical health issues, but to be able to progress within the workplace throughout their entire careers, from when they start to when they stop to have children, when they want to go back into the workplace, and when they want to go on to higher leadership roles within organizations. It's so important that the challenges are recognized and that they have particular coaching, mentoring, different financial incentives and support that allow women to gain the best that they possibly can within the workplace without it damaging their health.
Yes, I think you've raised some really good, interesting points there, because these are things that are affected. And I like the fact that you say we've got dual roles, because it's so true. We're doing so many different things and balancing so many things, and we can often bring that stress into the workplace as well.
Yeah.
And in terms of, so what challenges do you think the future, what are you thinking that over the next coming months, what challenges do you think in particular you'll be addressing in the future as a leader in your field of work?
I think it's really what comes to mind is what the pandemic has really drawn out, which is the inequities that exist within the workplace, and also the level of discrimination and issues related to race and gender and people from diverse backgrounds being marginalised and not being recognised and supported, particularly people with disabilities as well. And these are areas that people have kind of touched on, and maybe they've employed somebody from a diverse background, or they've employed a diversity, equity and inclusion specialist, but they actually haven't made the real commitment. They haven't put the long-term strategy in place. They haven't looked at the huge investment, financial investment and resources that need to be put in place in order to make those transformational, fundamental changes, because it cannot be a tick box exercise, and it can't be a piecemeal approach that doesn't look at coordinated targets and goals to be reached, and to have people who are accountable, who will see that through, and that they will review and they will explain why something isn't being done, and then to really see how it's important to involve people at the beginning. So I think the challenges are really to develop real mental health, diverse mental health and wellbeing strategies within organisations, to create workplaces where people feel safe, and they feel that they belong, and that they feel that they can be healthy, and that they can fulfill themselves in a satisfactory way. So I think we're seeing these kind of, and also I think the technology has really shown us how behind people were, and how we need to have different approaches to doing our work, which involves technology in order for us to do that, but also working remotely as well. We're looking at the hybrid culture now, and I think that is going to be a challenge for people to see how well they can implement that and make it work in a way that's going to be sustainable for the future.
Yes, and how do you at what point do you people approach you, Caroline, for your services?
I think there are lots of different levels within their journey. We can have organisations right at the beginning where they're just growing with their awareness of how important it is to look at the mental health and well-being and the diversity, equity, inclusion issues within their organisations, and they're looking for some guidance on how they can approach their diverse workforce, to just start the conversations, to look at what their particular needs are, and to see how they can take responsibility in moving the dial forward in creating more diverse and healthy workplaces. And we have organisations that, I've worked with organisations that are further along in their journey, where they have been looking at mental health and wellbeing. They've implemented mental health first aiders, advocates, champions. They have an EAP. They have a wellbeing program where people can access that online. But they're looking at, actually, is this really meeting the needs of our workforce? Is this making an impact? And is this sustainable? Or do we need to be looking at this on a much deeper level and looking at how we can plan for the future? And then there are organisations that are further along, and they're looking to expand their mental health and wellbeing strategy, either nationally or globally throughout the world, so that they can look at how a global mental health and wellbeing strategy is going to fit a workforce which is kind of reeling from the pandemic and looking for particular safe, caring, robust work environments, healthy work environments. But also they're looking to implement strategies that are going to be meet the cultural needs of their particular workforce as well. Because when you're looking globally at mental health and well-being, depending on where you are in the world, there are going to be quite significant cultural expectations, differences, ways of viewing mental health and well-being, and issues to do with discrimination and violence and inequity and injustice. And I think that organisations, when they work with me, will be looking at how can they be developing their mental health and wellbeing strategies in light of these particular circumstances, the expectations, how they can develop sustainable, robust mental health and wellbeing strategies across the board, where they can involve their people in that process, but also they can build a mental health and wellbeing strategy that reflects in their culture, because cultural change is really important in terms of mental health and wellbeing. If it's not embedded within the culture, then it will have limited impact. So yeah.
Fabulous. And in terms of how important do you think, Caroline, is a celebration of Black History Month in our workplaces?
Yeah, I'm in two minds about it. On the one hand, of course, it's extremely important for us to celebrate Black History Month, to look at the contribution of Black people throughout our history and the contribution that we've made, and the challenges and struggles that still exist, and to bring awareness for that, and to have that balance between really celebrating and recognising a lot of things that have been hidden or have been changed to fit the white dominant culture, that can give the Black community a sense of pride and a sense of positive recognition and inspiration and motivation. But it's a month, isn't it? It's a month that after that month, how much do people really invest in looking at the development of Black people within their organisations? They often go back to exactly how it was before Black History Month. And this can be quite demotivating in the sense that there isn't that deep, honest commitment for long-term change. It feels as if it's just kind of, let's give a bit of time, a bit of recognition within organisations, and then they make no changes. Where for the Black population, it's something that is really, it's really very positive and welcomed. It is amazing what I have learned in Black History Month, with the achievements and the different experiences that have been faced and that have been overcome. It's absolutely amazing, and it has been really inspiring. So there were two sides to it, I think.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, even here on this show, I mean, the whole idea this month was to also really kind of celebrate black female entrepreneurs. And in doing so and advertising for it, there's so many black female entrepreneurs have come forward, and which is nice because we can continue that and go beyond that month anyway, you know, which is great because that's exactly what we encourage here is, you know, really progress as a progressive radio show and station. We encourage speaking to all people from all types of backgrounds and diversities and colour. So that's something that, you know, this is why this show is here to support that. So which is great. So thank you so much for coming on and doing that. And this will also open doors for others as well to come on and have these conversations as well.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. It's great.
Exactly. Now, Caroline, when you're hearing all this, you know, it's quite a challenging job. You know, talk about mental health, etc. How do you protect yourself? You know, from your day-to-day mental health conversations, etc. Can be quite. You know, how do you not consume all of this on a personal front? How do you protect yourself?
Yeah, I had to learn the hard way, which was really pushing myself to the edge and not really knowing when I needed to stop and take a break. And I was just so consumed by the importance and my drive to make a difference and to help others that I lost myself in that. And that must have been probably over 20 years ago. And I think that going through a crisis where you think actually, you know, you will have a break. You will have a psychological break if you do not stop. And I learned that I had to be able to set my boundaries, which was really important. I had to be able to say no to people, and I had to then deal with a sense of letting people down, feeling that I'd failed, feeling that I was useless. And I had to work through that. And I had to think about how important it was for me to be healthy in order for me to be able to help others in a really positive way. And I think also what really helped me was to recognize the warning signs. You know, as a mental health professional, I've been going through university, I was studying psychology. You know, I could see the signs, but I just ignored them. You know, I ignored the low mood, I ignored the anxiety, I ignored the panic attacks. You know, there's feelings of, you know, rage and when you ignore the signs, then you do reach crisis point. And at crisis point, it's a lot harder then for you to overcome those particular challenges and difficulties. And so what I learned was that as soon as I started seeing that I was feeling irritable and that I was not focusing and that I wasn't able to perform at the level that I really wanted to, I said, Caroline, you need to stop. You need to stop. You need to take some time out. You need to exercise. You need to work healthily. You need to go on a nice holiday. You need to do your meditation. And you need to keep these strategies up. Don't think that they're a strategy that you just use when you're feeling low. It's something that I need to do all of the time in order to kind of keep me at the level where I'm feeling really focused, I'm feeling energized, I'm feeling positive, and that I'm able to do the work that I want to do at the level that I want to do it.
And I really resonate with that, Caroline, because I feel like with us doing any form of work, you know, we've got so many dual responsibilities, like you mentioned earlier, and to keep those going, we need to look after our mental health. And those are some of the coping mechanisms that even I, and I'm sure others, use as well: exercising, taking some time out, recognise and acknowledging when you're feeling a little bit worn out. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we've got the last 10 minutes left. Just let the listeners know. So if you're listening on the live stream on Facebook or YouTube, do say hello. Tell us, get involved. Tell us what you're doing this afternoon. If you're listening on your car radio show, you can call, you can text. We're in the conversation with Caroline, a mental health expert in her field of work. Caroline, I want to know, who are your role models? Who do you inspire? Who do you find really inspiring and look up to?
Well, that has to be my mum, to be honest.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Yeah, I know it sounds cliche, but it really is true. My mum is the most incredible person. She has overcome such huge challenges in her life, and she's remained resilient and loving and the most generous, caring, supportive person. And the way that she's faced challenges has taught me what it means to be proud, to be, to really value yourself as a person, and to not be treated in a way that is demeaning and that is unfair and unjust. And that she really taught me the sense of being able to go for your dreams and to not be held back and to not be devalued by others, and to believe in yourself. And I think that that's something that has helped me throughout. But it also helped being a twin as well, because I'm an identical twin.
Oh, are you? Oh, I've got twins. I've got identical twins as well. Yes. Oh, lovely.
Oh, right. No, that's amazing. Yeah, because being a twin, it's a very special bond, isn't it? It's an extremely special bond, and kind of I've never had the sense when I was young, until my kind of late 20s, I never had the sense of ever being alone.
Yes.
And this is something that helps you tackle a lot of challenges in life.
Yes. But it's that interdependency can also, on the flip side, you have to work on being independent, don't you? Because I'm finding with my twin, we've separated them in classes, and but really just they're still a little bit reliant on, with one twin, he's quite reliant on the other for for friends and just socially, etc. So that's really interesting that you've mentioned that.
Yeah. I mean, that sense of independence and being able to do things by yourself is so important, both personally and professionally, isn't it? Yeah. And being a twin, it's very hard for me to kind of experience things by myself and fully think that I'm enjoying it without somebody else being there. But actually, what I've learned is it's so important for me to have time for myself. I used to hate spending time by myself. It was excruciatingly painful. It was awful. But now I have to have time to myself.
Good.
So you can adapt. Yeah.
And how do you normally spend your Sundays?
Yeah, well, I have to try to not work. Sometimes it depends what I've been able to achieve throughout the week. I might probably do a bit of work if I'm trying to finish a training plan or program or consultation proposal or something. But usually I will spend time catching up with family and friends, which is great. So I catch up with my sister who's in Germany, and my brother and my mum, and then I'll probably catch up with some friends, maybe go out for a meal. If the weather's nice, I love going for walks. We have a beautiful park not far from where I am, so I love to go for walks, but the weather hasn't been so great.
Yes, we're coming to that time of the year, so I think now at the moment it's bright outside, but I'm thinking about a few weeks' time when the clocks go back, then we're going to it's going to be a lot more darker, so which is great. I mean, it's really nice to have I think this is the whole idea, is just to keep people motivated by speaking to different people, and and the show is here to really help people in their Sunday afternoons when we're feeling a little bit especially on a winter evening, it's time to exactly just pick everybody up, so which is great. So what are you most proud of, Caroline, in terms of your achievements so far?
I think that I'm quite an introverted, reserved person. And going to Germany over, I think, 12 years ago, it must have been now, moving to a different country and being able to work in an organisation. Well, I didn't speak the language to begin with, German, and to then learn the language and start off within the organisation at a very junior level, and to move up to executive level, where I became head of the counselling service and EAP, and I developed international networks, and I travelled around the world, and that was an amazing achievement, I think, for me.
Brilliant. So now you're bilingual in English and German as well?
No, unfortunately not. My German's very, very rusty. I understand a lot of it, but it's very rusty because I haven't spoken it for a long time.
Yes, that's the case with languages, isn't it? And just in our last few minutes, Caroline, what would you say to other people? What parting words would you leave with our listeners?
I would say self-belief is so important. You'll have people out there who will challenge your self-confidence or try to drag you down or stand in your way. But what's so important is to believe in yourself, that you're able to achieve the things and go for the things, and you have a right and deserve to achieve the things that you value and want in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I think also, like you say, some of those coping mechanisms that you've mentioned as well, because mental health, I think it also has lots of different spectrums as well, wouldn't you say? Because some people would think that that's not them, but actually they may not realise there's lots of different spectrums. Is that correct?
Wow, we all have mental health.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So we all have mental health, just as we have physical health, and mental health relates to how we emotionally and psychologically feel in ourselves and how well we're able to function. Mental ill health is something different. That's when you have a severe mental health illness, which will be diagnosed, and then you'd need special treatment and perhaps medication. But mental health is something that is a part of who we are and how we exist and how we function in the world. So just as we take care of our physical health, we need to take care of our mental health as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Caroline. We've been in conversation with Caroline Ribeiro Nelson, and you could find her online as well. Karen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for educating us on so much. Thank you to everyone who's been listening to Winning Women today. And I shall see you next Sunday with another guest, another expert, and I'll put a replay link on as well.